Hi, my name is Allie for those of you who don't know me, and I'm the maker behind Crochet in the Mud. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, or welcome back. Now, it has been a very eventful past couple of weeks, so this video of course is coming out later than I would hope. I am still working on catching up on videos, but I think this will be about a month late by the time it comes out. But I did just have my wedding, and then we went out of town on what I'm calling a mini moon. We went to the San Diego Zoo. I am a big lover of animals and zoos. I've worked at zoos plenty of times. I just love zoos. So this was one of my bucket list zoos to go to, and it was so much fun. The reason I'm calling it a mini moon is because the plan is to go to an African safari, but after paying for a wedding, paying for an international trip is a little tight. So hopefully within the next year or two we can go, and that's what I'm considering the official honeymoon. But anyways, that's not what you're here for. Today is currently September 24th, and it's a very chilly day in Denver, and I apologize if I'm sniffling. We did go to a concert at Red Rocks last night, and it was in the 40s and raining, so I'm just a little sniffly. Not fully sick, just it's the first cold day of the year. We need to get to market prepping, so I've been slowly kind of working at it this week. It is Wednesday now, but we've got a lot going on. So I have my calendar pulled up here. So I really need to restock my store Eclectic. It's not in desperate need of a restock, but we are approaching the holiday season, so I really need to give them a bunch of stuff. So I made a list in my planner about what ideally I would like to give them to kind of bring everything up to a high number of things I typically stock at that store, and then hopefully we can focus on more of just restocking whatever sold whenever I work my shifts, and then just continuing to add to inventory so that we are fully prepped and not panic prepping come middle of December when I also have a bunch of markets, hopefully. So the reason I said hopefully is because I just applied to a bunch of holiday markets, but of course you don't hear back immediately. So our current schedule is in 2 days I work a shift at that store, so I'm trying to kind of focus this week on prepping stuff for that store, and then I guess I should rewind. So part of the contract for this store, if you haven't seen my other videos, is I have to work so many hours at the store for free based on how big my size is of my booth. So I work 6 hours a month, and typically I try to do 2 3-hour shifts. It is an hour drive away, but I find it worth it. One, because I get bored if I'm there for 6 hours, and two, because it kind of forces me to restock more often and tidy up my space. So then usually I try to go every other week, but I'm going there in 2 days, and then I'm also going there the following Friday. But that one is on purpose, so that is October 3rd, which is the release day for Taylor Swift's new album, and they are doing a party, because also first Friday of Colorado Springs where it is, and they are downtown. So I wanted to work the Taylor Swift night, so I will be doing 2 Fridays in a row, which I typically don't do. And if I have time, I don't make copywritten work, I just don't mess with that stuff. But if I have time, I don't mind using the colors. So I know the album is supposed to be orange, and I think the secondary color is a teal. So I was like, I can make an orange and teal dragon, or axolotl, or maybe just some orange octopus. Just simple things like that, so that hopefully people who do go for the Taylor Swift night will associate it with the album, and then also if they don't sell that night, it's an orange and teal plushie. It's not obviously for the album, and also I'm not gonna encroach on that kind of stuff. But that's an if I have time, because then the next day, Saturday and Sunday, I forgot about this when I was scheduling my shifts, but I have a 2-day market. It is called Jackalope Festival, and if you are new here as well, I love Jackalope. My family always makes fun of me because we did a big trip. I want to say I was late middle school, early high school, so old enough to know. But I saw all of these like jackalope heads on the wall and all that stuff, and I thought they were real. And my parents just let me believe that. But anyway, I love jackalope, so I was excited when I found out that there was a jackalope festival in the state I live in. So it took me a couple years to get in, but last year's my first year doing it, and it was okay. I did, I want to say a little over 1,000 over 2 days, which for a 2-day market is bad in my opinion. That's just a lot of hours to be there manning the booth for not a lot of turnaround, plus the booth fee and all of that. So I am doing it again. Every single returning vendor said they made half as what they made the year prior. So I'm just hoping it was a fluke last year, and we're going to aim for $2,000 this year of sales, so hopefully it'll be fine. So obviously I have to have jackalopes for Jackalope Festival. I have a jackalope sticker that I designed last year for this festival, and then I have a large jackalope pattern from Crochet by Ricky, I believe is the name. I have her book, and I'm pretty sure it's the only pattern I've made from her book. So eventually we'll get around to hopefully crocheting the whole book. But I have that, and then they do Jackalope Festival in multiple states. So I saw another crochet at a different state had this jackalope pattern that is beautiful. So I reached out and asked them who the pattern designer was. So I'm most definitely going to purchase that pattern and make it. And then, yeah, that's priority for that market. And then, oh, there's so much going on. But it's also like, I put off so much this summer by having my summer job that I like to track my numbers from year to year, and I'm so far behind this year because I haven't been doing a lot of markets compared to what I typically do. So I literally just maybe 30 minutes ago signed up for another market. So that's going to be October 11th, the following Saturday. And I haven't done this particular market, but I will link up above the market I did that is similar. So this market is called Chalktoberfest, and it is a chocolate festival, which you don't associate crochet plushies with a chocolate festival, but the one I did by the same coordinators, and I think it was in April, was so good. Now people go there for the chocolate and the food, and then there are a handful of gift vendors, and having literally like zero competition, I was so busy, and there's also just so many people that go to this event. It is a ticketed event, but they bring out a crowd. So I did just spend $357 on that booth fee, which is a lot, but I want to say April I made $1,400 from that market. I'll throw up the exact number on the screen. But it was a fantastic market, so I wanted to do a similar one, and they do a handful throughout the year, but like they just did one that I couldn't do because of the wedding, and yeah, my September was completely thrown off due to the wedding because there were so many of my ones that I wanted to repeat that I couldn't. We did get married on a Tuesday. There was meaning behind the date, and also it was so much cheaper. But I did do a market the Friday before, and then most of our family came into town Saturday, so I couldn't reason with myself to do the weekend before. Also, that's just, even doing the Friday market was a little insane right before the wedding. But then the weekend after, we were out of town in San Diego, so there were 2 weekends right there, which is of course when most of the markets I wanted to do landed. So I only did one market for September, which should be coming out at some point, but that was the one that I did the Friday before the wedding. Actually, by the time this comes out, that video will be out, so I'll tag it up above. Regardless, we've got a lot going on within the next, 3 weeks? I should also probably at some point go restock the other store I'm in. I know for sure they are out of herb strippers, which is most of what I sell at that store. Which, if you haven't watched that video, I'd go watch it, because you'll see I had a market vendor, or My vendor neighbor knocked over my shelf of herb strippers and broke most of them. So I've not been doing too great at this store so far, but also like I need to focus on it more. So that's what's nice about Eclectic requiring that we work hours in the store, because it forces me to go in. So I've now rambled for I don't know how long, but I've slowly been working on my list. So I'll kind of read off to you what I wanted to make. And I do still have today and tomorrow, so we should be fully fine on making all of these things. Most of them still need stuffed, of course. But I wanted to make 5 octos in a specific color, because that color normally does well, and I'm sold out of that color. I wanted to make 4 jellyfish. I've only brought them maybe only once, but they sold pretty quick, which could have also just been it was a new pattern that I put out. But I wanted to make 2 in pink and 2 in purple, but it's also stashed by September, so I'm not buying yarn right now, but that's almost over. But because of the wedding, I might extend it a little bit. We'll see what I do. But I only had enough of the pink yarn to make 1, and then I made the 2 purple, and that essentially finished out the light color of both of them. So I can't really make any more of those. And then mallard ducks, I just went through and made enough until this is the brown color is the demi pearl. So I just kind of finished out whatever was left of that skein. So 3 of them will go to the store, and then however many else I made will be for markets, which will be desperately needed for, I have 3 days of markets coming up. And then hopefully going into a bunch of November and December markets, but we'll have to see. I'm still waiting to hear back on those. And then chick with frog hats, those do really well. They hurt my hand a little to make, and I'll throw a picture up if I have one. I love them. They are so cute. But of course the green of them I have very little of, but of course they don't use a lot of yarn, so I went through and made a bunch of the little hats. So they don't use a lot, so I could actually make a lot of these. Originally I was telling myself I was going to finish out the skein I had on those, but then I realized it wasn't really making a dent in the skein, which is a good problem to have. But I want to give them 5, and then I'm sold out for markets, so don't know how many to make. I did sell all 4 of the 4 I brought to my last market, and 2 of them I believe were my first 2 sales, and people were freaking out about them, which is very understandable. I do charge $16 for them. Typically with the whole supply and demand thing, and because they hurt my hands to make, just because it's such a small area and there's so many baubles and stuff. I don't know why this one hurts my hand. Other plushies don't. I think it's because of the small surface area. But I already charged $16 for them. That is already a higher profit margin than most of my plushies, and I can't bring myself to charge $18 for them, because I charged $18 for these, and I mean this is just a hat, but you can see just the size difference. This one has a lot more detail, but I can't justify selling those for the same price. So anyways, I wanted to bring 5 of those to the market. And then tofu turtles, they either sell really fast or really slow. It kind of depends. But currently I only have 2 pink at the store, so I want to bring my numbers up to 5 of each color, and I do have 3 colorways. So I have written down I want to bring them 3 pink, 5 beige, and 5 green. Most of these I do have shells for. If you watch the other Stash by September, I just went through and made a bunch of shells and set them aside. But I do think I'm out of pink. I do have a whole other skein to make shells, so I'll probably have to get around to doing that. And then I wanted to bring them some ghosts. So I did finish up my big ghosts. I wanted to give them 2 of these, and I kind of played around with, I bought glow-in-the-dark powder. So these purple eyes, I made them myself with resin. So the first layer I did the chunky glitters as well as the powder, and then I did the back layer with fine glitter, mica powder, and more of the glow in the dark. And they're not the most obvious glow in the dark. I'll try to get videos of the eyes glowing. So then the next round I did, these are like an orangish brown. So I did the first layer of only glow in the dark powder, which then kind of put like a grayish tint to the eyes. And then I went ahead and did with fine glitter and like a brownish orange mica powder, the back layer. So these ones glow much better, but I wanted to play around with them, and I'm definitely going to put a sticker on the tag that says, "My eyes glow in the dark." Henry thinks that that's creepy. When I told him how excited I was about the powder, I think it's going to be cool, especially for Halloween lovers. So 2 of these guys, so these are completely crossed off the list, and the only things I have fully stuffed, because these ones you kind of have to stuff as you go. Ooh, that was eye on eye. And then last thing on the list is to make 5 mini ghosts, but I'm currently debating. I'm very low on white yarn, which if you've seen the Stash Bus September series, you will see that's my only exception, is I can buy white. Now I have 1 full skein and then a partial, and that 1 full skein is one that I bought. But sorry, I keep looking over at my yarn stash. I bought 4 of these sparkle white skeins during the Joanne closure. The intention was I wanted to do what's called Unicorn Festival back in August, and that's by the same people who do the Chocolate Festival. So those ones you pay on your in. So I was holding out because I want to say that was a 2-day market, and I want to say it was like $500, which is hefty. And I decided not to do it because I literally had like no inventory, and I think it was like 1 or 2 weekends after my summer job ended, and it just wasn't going to be a very responsible thing for me to do, especially because both of my stores needed restocked. And I decided not to do that market and instead restock the stores and not waste $500. I don't even know if the market's a good market. I just wanted to do it. It sounded fun. In the past couple of years, it's been the same weekend as my Pride market, which is, if not the best, one of my best markets. And I can't pass it up for a market that I think will just be fun. I did see some reviews. I'm in a Facebook group where people can review markets, the vendors can, and I believe people said it wasn't very good in terms of sales. So it's probably a good thing I didn't do that one. But I bought a bunch of sparkly yarn with intentions to make unicorns, which I still can make unicorns with them. But what if I made a sparkly ghost? And now part of me wants to go back and make another one of these big ghosts and sparkly. So we'll see what I decide to do. But that's my list for eclectic, and I guess I should say tell you what I've marked off. Oop, I closed it. So I've marked off the jellyfish, the big ghost, and the mallard ducks. So the chick with frog hats and the tofu turtles are all already started. And then the 5 mini ghosts I still need to start, but they're not very long makes. They're pretty quick. I can probably make all 5 in an hour, hour and a half. I don't know. And then the 5 octos, it literally takes me like 10 minutes to make an octo. So we'll go ahead and get started on those. I should honestly probably finish out this. Let me move the ghosts that are finished. This is just stuff that needs stuffed, as well as, like I told you, I made a crap ton of the frog hats. So maybe, I'm also debating, I have some booty turtles. Back in, I want to say in the spring, I went through and made a bunch of bodies with all of these skeins of, I'm going to say key lime, Parfait Chunky. And then I ran out of yarn to make shells. And then on my second Premier Yarns order, by the way, I do have an affiliate code if you are interested in ordering It's linked in the description. It doesn't cost you any money, it just gives me some credit so that I can buy more yarn. But I have 2 in here that these are the last 2 bodies. But I made both shells, I just need to weave in the ends. And I haven't decided if I should give them to my store or add them to market inventory. I know markets have some. I want to say they have like 3. I don't know how many. But I should probably get around to stuffing all of these. There's just so much on the to-do list. And then I also made a list of ideal things I'd like to have for markets. I mean, my market inventory for the most part is pretty set, with the exception of like the chick with frog hats I'm sold out of. I marked the axolotl colors that are low. So my 2 best-selling colors are the light blue and the light pink. I have no more light blue, so I do for sure need to make those. And I only have 1 light pink left, so I should probably make some more of those. I have 2 chickens left and 3 possums, so those are low numbers. I haven't had cats in a while. We're also doing stash by September, so I keep writing down. I told myself I was going to make hippos with all of my velvet yarn, but I'm kind of scared to do that. And also, I got my nails done for the wedding, so these are acrylics, and I like having long nails, which is hard to crochet with, but I'm trying to hold on to these as long as possible, and I don't know if I can do velvet with these nails. But if you've been around the channel for a long time, you will have heard I've been saying for months that I'm going to use that velvet, so I really need to use it up. But that's just a long-winded thing of saying I have a lot of wishes and a lot of things I need product for. Yet I don't know what I want to make. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start by just stuffing all of the plushies that I've already made. So I'm going to throw on a movie I've been wanting to watch, The Wrong Paris, on, I think it's on Netflix. So maybe I'll throw that on so I can kind of watch while I stuff. And then we'll figure out what we're going to do from there. Yeah, I think that's the plan. So it is now the next day, and I apologize if the washing machine is really loud. It's really loud to me, so it's probably really loud on the camera, but I will try to kind of edit that out a little bit. But yesterday was a day. So I'm sure you've had these days where just like absolutely nothing can get you to crochet. But like I tried switching up patterns so many times. So I believe when I left you off, I said I was going to stuff some plushies and watch a movie. I did more watching movie than I did stuffing plushies. But I did get let me grab them real quick. I did get all of the ducks stuffed, and then all 3 of the jellies stuffed. So currently our only finished products are those big ghosts I showed you, the ducks, and the jellies. And then this is kind of my work in progress bucket. So I did have all of these shells, with the exception of the pink shells, already made from a prior video earlier this month. I just went through and made a crap ton of shells. So I also had the heads done of the green turtles. So of the 5, I finished 4 of them, and I was working on the last one when Henry got home. So I need to stuff these, and then I got started on the sparkly ghost. I think I'm personally a fan of the sparkly ghost, but I don't know how it's going to go over. But I realized I had the $18 stickers for my store. So these are the 2 sizes I have. This one's 16, this one's 18. So there's a great size difference to them. I think this one's cuter. I wish I had an in-between, which maybe I just need to edit this ghost to be a little shorter. I don't know. Because this one literally only has 1 more round of increase than this one. It's just vastly taller. So I couldn't decide which one I wanted to make 5 of to bring to the store, so I just set these aside and moved on. So I have these 2. And then I just have a bunch of shells. I did make a handful more of the frog hats for the chick with frog hats. So now I'm in the teens. Or I was at 9 before I started, and I haven't counted again. I could give them booty turtles. But I think I'm not going to stress myself out too much about the store because, again, I will be there in a week. So I can kind of just give them what I have. But I think I'm going to add something to my list. So what I really like about this store is I can track my sales literally by the second. So, I mean, the store's not open right now, but I could go on and be like, oh, how much have I sold so far today? And I can go in and edit the dates around. So, let's see, today's Thursday. So, on Monday, I sold 1 possum. Great. Tuesday, I sold 1 possum. I was like, that's weird. I literally double checked my dates to make sure it was showing me Tuesday sales, not Monday sales. And then I got on last night on Wednesday, and it again said 1 possum, and I'm like, I swear I'm losing it, and this thing is lying to me. So I did go through and make a range of Monday through Wednesday sales, and it did say I sold 3 possums. So 3 days in a row, I made 1 sale, and it was the exact same sale 3 days in a row, which those possums do fantastically anywhere. And I think I'm just gonna switch and just make possums. I do enjoy making the possums. Luckily, I have not gotten burnt out of possums, even though I've made hundreds of them. So I do have some of the gray left, and I also need them for my markets. I think it says 3 left for my markets. So I think I'll just see how much I can make with the gray I have. And then we'll have to decide if I'm gonna go buy more gray, which technically breaks my stash by September, don't buy any yarn, or if I hold off. I had told myself that I'm kind of trying to find a goal for my upcoming 2-day market. I had originally told myself if I did 2,000 in sales, which doubles what I did last year, but also everyone at that market who was a returning vendor said that they did half of what they normally do last year. So I think doubling my sales is reasonable. Plus, this is a 2-day market. I'm going to be there for 14 hours. I had better make more than 1,000. So I'd originally told myself if I made a $2,000 in sales at that market that I could make a Premier Yarns order of about $200 because that's, of course, what's in my cart. As I'm watching videos, I just keep adding stuff to my cart, like, oh, I want to try that or that or that. And like my most recent one yesterday, I added a skein to the cart where I have been watching Crochet Vision, and her her fluffy penguins are adorable, where the top half is like blanket yarn and then the bottom half is fur, which I have never used fur. But she mentioned that, I don't know if she usually does, but at least she had ordered to going forward, she was going to use Little Bunny from Premier. And I was like, let me try that out. So I added one of those to the cart. I still want to try out the Premier Plush. I only bought a handful of the Chenille Brights, so I definitely think I might switch to their grays for possums going forward. All that to say, I don't know what I'm going to do for possums. I might need to, especially with having that 2-day market and then following another big market, I might need to go through one more skein of Burnout blanket of the dark gray, because even if I did place an order right now, it wouldn't really, if I ordered it today, it would probably be here in time. But if I did where I said if I made the 2,000 in sales and ordered it, then it wouldn't be here in time for that next market. So I guess let me first see how much gray I have left. So yeah, this is what I have currently of dark gray, which this will probably get me at least 5, if not more. I don't know. When is October 1st, if we wanted to technically follow our rule and go out and buy it on the 1st? The 1st is next Wednesday, so I'll let myself think on it for about a week, but I'm going to finish this up today, see how many I can get through, and then we'll come back to the rest of the list. I definitely need to stuff at least what I have made. But I also realized when I went to go look at the stickers that I made 2 big ghosts to bring to the store, and I only have 1 sticker for a big ghost. So I do have variable stickers, which I try not to use on things that I have stickers for, because I personally like knowing exactly what sold. The variable just tells me variable, and it'll tell me. So I also have 3 variable things. It clumps them all together into one big price of like, they added up to $52 for the 3 variable. And I'm kind of guessing, especially with living about an hour away from the store. I like to know what sold so I know what to restock. But I need to stop blabbing. Hopefully today is a much better focus day. I can't tell if it was because it was chilly out and it was like the first 2 chilly days in a row. I'm still a little sleep deprived from the honeymoon we went on. One of our days was a 22-hour day from wake to sleep. We also went to that concert the night before. Lots of factors, but I'm hoping today I can zone in, especially because tomorrow I need to restock. So yeah, let me make these possums and then I'll catch up with you. So a little bit of an update. I have now made 2 possums, but I realized as soon as I turned the camera off that gray is not going to be my limiting factor. Black is. So according to what I have written down for how much grams of each color I use, I do that for most of my patterns, especially with, that's how I determine partially how to charge for my plushies. So I have written down that apparently, even though it doesn't look like it, the white, the gray, and the black all use 5 grams. And then the pink uses 1 gram. It's probably more like 1.5, but I don't have decimals on my scale. So black was my limiting factor, but I had debated a little bit ago when I was getting low on black if that's also going to be an exception like the white is, but I don't feel like leaving the house today. So in the spirit of Stash Bus September, we are going to try using a different black. So I always forget how this is the Dollar Tree yarn and I'm trying to use it up. I've been using it this week to like embroider mouths and stuff. So I think I'm going to try to double strand it to then use it for the black. So I hate how this yarn feels. I don't know why I bought it. I still have a handful of colors, so trying to use this up. Another option would be to use, I have black velvet, but I think I would rather this go. So I'm gonna go wind it up so that I can easily double strand, having 1 inside pull and 1 outside pull. So I'll make 1 possum with it and see how I feel about this method. It is now quite a bit later and I was able to finish 5 with the gray I had, and this is just a tiny bit, but I think I need to redo my math of how much yarn this plushie uses, because I wrote down it uses 5, but I had 79 grams. And even if we're being kind and saying it's just shy of 6 grams, that only accounts for half of the yarn I had. So I had 79 grams, somehow it only gave me 5. Which means I'm using triple what I have written down, unless I just can't read. Let me look again. Yeah, I wrote down 5551, so a note for in the future whenever I do this. And I think they turned out fine with, I stuffed a handful of them. So this is with Burnout Blanket Black, and this is with the Dollar Tree Black double stranded, and I think there's not really much of a difference aside from like texturally. So it's now 5:50. I've got about 40 minutes until we leave for trivia, potentially a little longer. It is Thursday, so we always go to trivia. I told you yesterday was definitely a day. Today I went over and I just couldn't focus. I was like, let me just take an hour to scroll on TikTok, and then I took a nap. So maybe it's just one of those weeks. Or sometimes it's also like decision fatigue, where there's just so many things right now that I could make / want to make. But I think that's also part of it. It's like I don't know what to do. So sometimes when that happens, I'll go to like spin a wheel and have it pick my pattern for me, or prioritize what needs to be done. Whereas nothing really is top priority here except for making jackalopes for next weekend's market. And I haven't done that yet. So I might let myself do that. I'm very excited for it. I do need to purchase the pattern, which is something that's been holding me back a little bit. So I definitely need to make sure my business debit card is hooked up to my Etsy, because my business credit card has been used fully up right now on application fees and booth fees for getting ready for this winter season. So I guess we'll start up on the jackalope pattern. It is adorable. Oh, it locked me out of Etsy. 1 second. I don't know about you, but wait, what? Oh, that's why it wasn't working. Been logged out on all of them. Anyways, what I was saying, I don't know about you, but my Etsy cart has probably at least 50 patterns in it right now. I get stuck in a cycle of, well, this sells really well, so I have to make sure I have it in stock, or I need to really break that cycle and be like, it's okay if I don't have possums at every market. But I had to make a rule for myself a couple years ago that I have to make the pattern immediately after buying it, because I would literally just buy plushies, buy patterns, and then never get around to making them. Okay. Oh, I just found this creepy cute cow pattern from Fuzzle Forms. Never heard of them, but that's adorable. Always have to do an AI check whenever you've not heard of the person before. Ooh. They did a devil with a red with sparkly black. Oh, sparkly red as well. Okay, that's not what I'm on Etsy for. Anyway, added it to the cart for later. We'll see if I get around to it. This stuff's been in my cart so long that Etsy has just moved most of it to save for later. Okay, so I need to go find the jackalope, which has probably been in my cart for a year now. I do know that there is a free version on YouTube, but I would much rather just have the PDF. I would for a while just sit there and I would watch the YouTube tutorial once and just write the pattern down on my iPad. But I've just gotten to the point where I would much rather just have the PDF. This is a nice refresh to go through and just look at everything I've had saved for a year. I'm getting nervous. Why am I scrolling so much? Oh, jackalope. Why is that saved? Okay, I think I'm hitting what I had saved last Christmas. I think I need to also at some point go through and do, no, I hit a button. We're gonna find this. But I need to at some point go through and do, like, I've seen the challenge going around, which I've wanted to do this for a while before I saw the challenge about crochet your collection, of going through your old patterns and crocheting stuff you haven't made that you bought. So I need to do that, and I also have a bunch of, okay, multitasking is hard. I have a bunch of like variety packs that came with like 5, 10, 15 plushies that I only made a handful of, so I also need to go through and finish those up. So I found the pattern. Okay. We will now check out with only this shop. Alright, we are officially downloaded. Alright, so this is definitely going to be a more complicated pattern because there is sewing. But from, apologies, I already mentioned this in the video, because it's called Jackalope Festival, they have a table where they encourage you, if you have jackalope stuff, that you can give them one that they put on their table, and then they will say, this vendor is at booth 5, and send you over that way. So I went over to that table to give them one of my jackalope stickers to kind of advertise, and it did work. Somebody came over and said they came specifically for that sticker. But I saw they had this plushie, and it was adorable, and I said, where is this vendor? And they're like, oh, actually, they're one of our like California vendors or whatever. So I messaged them on Instagram, and I was like, please tell me where this pattern's from. So this has been in the back of my head for a year now. And I'm going to make it out of Parfait Chunky is the plan. And I'm hoping it's fine. I mean, I've crocheted with Parfait Chunky this week, but the nails are starting to piss me off. But I don't want to get rid of them. So we're going to work around it. But I'm going to get started on that, see how far I get before Henry gets here from work and we head out to trivia. But I'll probably show you the update tomorrow. It's now Friday afternoon, so I worked my shift at the store, just gave them what I had, and then we'll restock a lot more next Friday for the Taylor Swift night, which will be fun. But I'm working on the jackalope a little more, and this one is definitely a trust the process. So this thing is turning out big. I could have swore, I didn't take a picture of the plushie I saw that someone had made because I just felt like that was rude. And I could have sworn I had made it in Parfait Chunky. But now I'm starting to think it was actually an acrylic. Because this is huge. I was picturing like overall would be about this big. And this thing's going to be huge. But I planned on making a little army of these guys, just having remembered they were adorable and thinking they would be quicker makes than this and smaller. But I have a feeling this guy is going to be quite hefty of a price tag. So if you're new here, I always make new patterns twice, so the first time is always kind of figuring out the pattern, and especially for like a no-sew if I need to adjust any of the stitches at all. And then the second time is when I actually price my plushie, so I will time how long it takes me to make it, as well as calculate how many materials it requires to make, because materials do cost money. And then I do add a profit margin to that on top of it, because you gotta pay for other business things such as a booth fee. So, I mean, I've only done the body and I still have to make, what, a tail, 4 legs, 2 ears, 2 antlers. Yeah. This guy's probably going to come out to 70 or 80 is my guess. But hopefully, by the time this video comes out, I will have finished. I might finish recording before I price it, but editing me for sure will know the price. So I will let you know what it ends up costing the customer to buy one. And as always, my plushies are available on my website. The link is always in the description. If there's something you see me make that you want, my plushies are usually made to order. So like, say you want one of my cows, but I currently don't have any cows, you can still order the cow and then I'll make a cow. But if I have a cow in stock, I'll just send that one off to you, if that makes sense. So that makes me able to have lots of options on there when I don't necessarily have it in stock. Okay. Just looks like a giant bean. I know it's gonna be cute, but trust the process. And of course, Henry is going on a work trip next week. He's going to be on a lot of work trips over the next month, actually. So, usually when he's gone, I will not necessarily force myself to work all day, every day, but I mean, I feel kind of pathetic sometimes because I have nothing to do if he doesn't come home. So I will hopefully be extra productive the next couple of weeks, which will be great when it comes to prepping for the holiday season. Especially because I have plans on the showgirl plushies I'm going to make, which is just using the orange and teal. And I have to prep jackalopes. This upcoming weekend is going to be busy, but lots of fun. So it also appears I'm trying to convince him to drive out to bring me food and let me pee both days of the market, because understandably he's going to be out of state for the next week. He literally gets back Friday, and then Monday after the 2-day market, he then has to do 14-hour days driving up about 2 hours north of us and then back every single day. And maybe I can convince him to do my October 11th market with me, because assuming it's like the April one I did with him, the chocolate festival, I'm gonna need help. So I think I can manage Jackalope Festival by myself, assuming he can give me a bathroom break once a day and feed me. But I'm gonna get back to working on my little jackalope. It does appear my eyes are a little crooked, but that's okay. And I will have to use Posh for the antlers, because I realized at the moment, this is Teddy Bear is what I'm using. At the moment, this is the darkest brown I have. I do have a teeny tiny bit of chocolate, but that's not going to give me antlers. So I'll use Posh for the antlers, which will also give it a nice texture difference, which I think will be great. But here's my little bean. And I'll make all the limbs, and we'll see if I can even sew with these nails. They are starting to get to the point where they're pissing me off though, so I might make them all shorter, still a little longer than what I normally have, but shorter than they are now. But it makes me sad, because I can never really have long nails, and it was nice to be able to get some. But I'm going to work on what even is next. The legs, I assume. Oh, the ears. Interesting. It is now roughly an hour later, and I have all of the bits and pieces to it. So now I get to sew it all together. Now granted, I was not 100% focusing during this hour, so I'm definitely intrigued to see how long of start to finish this honestly might be a 2-hour plushie. So yeah, and I've never really done face shaping before, but I have a feeling this one is going to require face shaping. So I'll figure that out for the first time, I guess. But these legs are all definitely very intricate to get all of the shaping in there. And here is a front leg. I very much appreciated that this antler was not 2 different pieces and instead it was a puff stitch, I believe, for that. Here's a little tail. Not looking forward to sewing all of this together. I am excited to see the finished product though, so hopefully I can convince myself to finish this bad boy. It is already 6:10, so we'll see how far I get. I am a little hungry, but Henry said it's going to be a late night for him working today, and I typically try to, if he's at work, I try to work. Doesn't always happen because like nights like this where he has been at work for a long time and who knows when he will come home. But I just texted him what's the plan for dinner because we still have not grocery shopped, so there's no groceries in the house. We've kind of made up dinner the past couple of days with just what's in the freezer, but I'm kind of out of ideas for that. And I'm hoping he texts me back saying, I'm leaving work now, let's go out to eat. But we'll see whenever he checks his phone. So I guess I will sew this guy until Henry gets home, or he texts me and asks me to bring him dinner. We'll see. Luckily he works like 5 minutes away, so it's not the end of the world if he's like, hey, can you pick up fast food and bring me dinner? But I'm hoping it's instead I'm coming home, let's go to whatever sit down. But we'll see. Sunday update. I am working on the second one. I am almost done. I have one last leg, which is one of the back legs, and the tail. And this pattern uses an entire skein of Parfait Chunky. So glad I decided to start with my unopened skein just to kind of test that out. I do have, luckily, a little bit left and I'll have enough to finish, but I'm not going to have a lot of the teddy bear color left to do much else with. But I'm going to go ahead and call the video here, so I will throw up the numbers of how long the plushie took. I can tell you just the body part was 40 minutes alone, so this is definitely probably a 2-hour, if not more than 2-hour plushie. So it's going to be a hefty price. So I'll throw the numbers up, and so I'll give you a quick sneak peek of one of the plushies I made with the inspiration using the colors of the Life of a Showgirl album. So I will see you in the next one. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was enjoyable. I have a feeling it was a long one, so hopefully it wasn't too bad. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!